Welcome to the Mr. Titan Show. Tighten up.
Tighten up!
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Cleveland Browns versus Tennessee Titans post-game recap. Unfortunately, it's not one that we all liked. It was a rough game yesterday, but I am joined by my friend, Mr. Ryan Harris. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me.
And no problem at all. Again, let everyone know who you are and what we do. Why are we friends? Why are we close? Other than we're Titan friends.
Yeah, well, we're part of the Say It Again network. I got a podcast of my own. Me and Caleb and Travis, we're part of Amy's Army, which is basically based off of Amy Adams Shrunk. And we also talk about Titans and, give our expert opinions on the subject matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys haven't checked them out, please go check them out. Go subscribe. It's a very good podcast. Again, any Titans content is always great, regardless if it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are comfortable getting. It's always good to show some support, especially sometimes like this, especially after a game like this. You want to show that support regardless, thick or thin. We're still Titan fans, still love the team regardless. I mean, it sucked. Don't get me wrong. It sucked yesterday, but we'll bounce back and we'll continue playing football. I mean, football still goes on, but we're going to criticize the hell out of the team. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to be, I'm a realist. Again, I'm as real as it gets. I mean, I'll call it out. A lot of people especially like to give their opinions on Twitter and stuff, but never touched a football in their life. And that's why I like bringing football players, ex-Titan players, just because they get a really good perspective on their point of view. Just like the fans' point of view, a lot when Gerald comes on and stuff, he talks about his point of view, but now he sees kind of the opposite side. He sees as being a fan because he doesn't play anymore, so he gets like kind of the best of both worlds. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating sometimes at best, but this game, man, I said it on the podcast. I said this was going to be a really, really good game. I thought it was going to be a close game. I don't know if you want to say that. It's weird, though. The score was 41-35, but the score can be deceiving, and it could be positive or negative, however you take it. I mean, if you saw the second half, you're like, damn, the Titans, made a comeback. They're pulling through. They, clawed their way back. First half, you're like, what team showed up? Because obviously the Browns did and the Titans didn't. So on your take on that, before we get into the stats, what was your take? Do you get more, maybe a little bit positive just because they clawed back and they didn't – I mean, they bent and broke and they came back again? I don't know. What do you think, Ryan?
I think that it was definitely a tale of two halves. So when you look at the first half, anything that could go wrong did go wrong regarding the turnovers, just not being able to sustain offensive drives, the defense not being able to stop anybody on third down, not being able to stop Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had all time to throw the football. It was just our worst nightmare all into one. But then on the flip side, you can kind of see the resilience of the Titans. The second half where, a lot of teams, they're down 38-7 at halftime. They're melting it in. Yeah, they're melting it in. They're putting the backups in, and they're just going to live and fight another day. So the fact that we just came out there and just played. It looks like we just took it one possession at a time. Didn't look at the scoreboard, didn't look at how much time was left, and we made a game of it. Unfortunately, Adam Humphries couldn't hold on to that ball that turned into an interception while the momentum was shifting in our favor. But like I said, it was just a tale of two halves. Like I said, there's both positives and negatives in that. And man, it was tough. It was tough to watch for 3 hours.
Yeah, man. I think there was two momentum swings off the bat that kind of changed the whole. Again, it was that 4th and 1 in the first half, and then the Adam Humphreys, because we were driving, we were going down, and all of a sudden it's like getting the wind knocked out of you. You're like, God, like, damn, that sucked. So again, I'm gonna read some of the stats right now of the game. Okay, Baker Mayfield was 25 for 33 for 334 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had, like you said, he had all day, man. We made Baker Mayfield. Don't get me wrong. Never mind. I don't like him. So, but we made him look like a stud. Nick Chubb, 18 carries, 80 yards, 1 touchdown. All right. You got Higgins for 6 receptions, 95 yards, 1 touchdown. Tannehill, on the other hand, was 29 for 45, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns. Were really good. 1 interception, which that's on Humphreys again. Derrick Henry, 15 carries, 60 yards. Corey Davis, 11 receptions, 182 yards, 1 touchdown. Corey Davis has been balling out, man, and that's one of the positives of this game. The first half, I believe the Titans were just sloppy with the ball, man. There was a lot of – how many fumbles did we have? There was like 2 or something, right? 2 or 3? It was just –
It was 3.
Right?
Derrick Henry on the second possession, the first play. And then, AJ fumble, which fortunately turned into a touchdown. And then he fumbled again earlier in the first half, which basically was just making something out of nothing. So I don't really count that one. But, yeah, a lot of sloppy play.
Yeah. And again, the stats on the game. First downs, there were 26 over 25. Third down efficiency, there were 10 for 16. We were 2 for 10. It's not good. But our fourth down efficiency was pretty good, 3 for 4. They were 0 for 1. Total yards, there were 70. Total plays, 70 for the Browns, 66 for the Titans. Passing, 340 to our 369. Rushing, they had 118. We only had 62. Red zone was 4 for 5 for both teams. Penalties was the Browns had 13 for 92, and Titans had 5 for 52, which 2 were on Rashad Evans, which was silly. Turnovers was a big deal. We had 3. They only had 1. Time of possession, another key factor of victory. They had 36 minutes when we only had 23. And that's sad because if you think about it too, they were just taking chunks. They were just making big plays, which usually never happens with the Titans defense. Back in the day, it always happened. We'd always get burnt on the sides, and they always go over the top. I remember that like it was, yesterday. Here, they like to play in front of them. They like seeing the ball in front of them. And it's just like they'll dink and dunk on us. But there was just miscommunication. Defense didn't look like they didn't know what they were doing. Just big yards, big chunk yards. And again, give credit to the Browns. Absolutely, 100%. They played an all-around good football game. Offense, defense, special team. Regardless, play calling, coaching was all 100%. So, again, I'm not saying, the Titans did it to themselves, but they kind of did. But the Browns played too. They came and they brought it to us. So my question to you, Ryan, is, are the Cleveland Browns pretenders or are they contenders? What do you think? Is this a statement game? Because I think it was a statement game. Hey, they beat us, and we're pretty good. So what do you think?
I agree. I think they are contenders. Now, if you would have asked me this question this time last week, I would have said pretenders based off their strength of schedule. But the way that they came in our house, and dominated us basically from the jump, from the first play.
Yeah,
you got to start taking them serious.
Yeah,
and the reason why he's taking them serious because they are kind of like the Titans on offense. They rely on the running game. They want the quarterback to take care of the football, and they want to play good, hard-nosed defense.
Yep.
That's kind of like our identity.
I agree with you. I was telling people, I think I told it on the podcast, I go, hey, the Browns are like the Tennessee Titans of last year. Once they start getting on a roll, people are doubting them. Excuse me. And they start getting on that roll, they could be really, really dangerous. Even as a wild card, they can sneak in to the playoffs. And that's a team you don't want to face, in the playoffs. And you're right. They rely heavily on the run. And look, they beat us. I mean, they ran it a couple times, but they beat it over the top. They beat it with Baker Mayfield. And I said on the pregame is that's how we beat them. Make Baker Mayfield throw it. And I mean, hey, I have to admit when I'm wrong, and it is what it is. So I really think these Browns they came prepared, and they were the better team. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean the game plan was to make Baker Mayfield throw the football.
Right.
Unfortunately, he just threw it efficiently against our defense because of the lack of pressure.
Yeah. Now, I think the problem, everyone's like, yeah, the defense is defense that. Yes, the defense is the problem. But this goes back to offseason. I think this goes to the Tennessee Titans. It goes to the general manager, John Robinson. I think the fact that I believe he put all his cards on having a Clowney and having Vic Beasley be the answer to our defense is what caused us the problems we have now. Now, don't get me wrong. I love John Robinson. I think he's probably the best Tennessee Titans general manager as of right now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying – but you know what? We do have hit and misses, and I just feel like his offseason moves, losing a Jarrell Casey, big presence, a Logan Ryan, which a lot of people were getting on him. I was happy to, put Logan Ryan back in. Wesley Woodyard, those are veteran leaderships right there. I think missing those guys and just having that offseason of getting only a couple people to help out the defense has truly came back and bit us in the ass. As you can tell, little by little, as each game continues, as everyone kind of game plans towards us, towards the playoffs, when we play better teams, they start, finding that hole in our game, and we've been exposed. We've been totally exposed. So I think it goes back to the offseason. And again, John Robinson, people are giving him some crap on the draft pick. I mean, you have Isaiah Wilson, who's kind of turned into, again, a bust, but I can't say he's a bust yet. He is. He has problems, but he hasn't played, so I can't really say that. He's mentally not there yet. Darrington Evans, I mean, finally he's been active, but again, another pick. So, what do you think the problem is? I mean, obviously it's the defense, but you can't blame the defense just by itself. Just be realistic.
Right. When the thing that I always say about this defense this year is it's the change of scheme. If you can recall from the Dean Pease era, which was like a couple of years, we did a lot of exotic blitzing. Blitzing corners, blitzing safeties.
Yeah.
You don't see that as much. Not a whole lot of man-to-man defense. A lot more zone, a lot more soft zone, a lot more bend but don't break. Mm-hmm. There's instances where the corners are playing 5 to 10 yards away from the receivers, which is basically pitch and catch. In today's NFL, it is. So when you don't have pass rushing or you don't have the pieces to get to the quarterback, you need to, kind of mix it up and be a little bit more creative in your defensive packages. And I just don't see that from the Titans right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been a big problem. Again, do you see any sort of changes made for the defense after this game? Is this like kind of like a wake-up call, or you think it's too late in the season where Mike Rabel's hard-headed and he's like, you know what, we're gonna continue, like he says in the press conference, continue, players are gonna play, and communication and this and that. Again, Gerald McGrath's kind of take was you can't just switch on, bring people on, bring people off just because of COVID. I mean, there's a whole situation on that. Takes them a couple days. They got to get tested, and then they have to get familiar with the defense, and it's a little bit harder. Do you kind of stick with the players? So there's kind of two questions. I'm my bad for just throwing that out there, but what do you think? Is there going to be any changes whatsoever on the defense, in your opinion? And if so, what needs to be changed, man?
To be honest, I think we're so late in the season. I don't think a change is going to happen, and I don't think bringing in players is going to be a solution either. I mean, we tried that with, like you said, with the Vic Beasley and the Davian Clowney earlier in the season, and you saw how that worked out.
Yeah.
We did get Desmond King to kind of shore up the secondary, which I would say King's been a bit of a bright spot, but I just don't see any kind of changes from a scheme standpoint to where the Titans are going to get better.
Yeah. Unfortunately, everyone was high on Borders. I am too. I was very high on Borders. I'm still high on Borders. But again, he's still new. He's still getting used to it. Like, you can't expect him to be, high level right there every game. It's going to happen. The mixed matches, they're going to pick on him, and it happens like that. And again, I don't blame him, and I'm not saying, oh, Borders is this, Borders that, it's his fault. I mean, it's only so much you can expect on someone. So again, did they pick on him? Hell yeah, they did. But what do you do at that point? That's the thing. Again, I just feel like we should have maybe invested a little bit more in defense, and we didn't. And I believe, again, I believe it's just gonna happen where we're gonna have to do something in the draft. I mean, it sounds bad right now, but defense is key. Our offense is set. We're gonna lose some pieces, obviously, and then that's for another show. But again, coming down, before we end this, because again we've been talking negative. I always like to leave it off in the positive note. What is a couple key or positive going through yesterday's game?
Like I said, the ability to come from behind 38-7 to basically make it a 2-possession game, and I mean that just shows how much that we do not quit just because we're down. Like I said, there's a lot of teams in the National Football League. They're down 31 or more points. They're mailing it in. Yep. I like the fact that I root for a team that doesn't quit, and they're going to play hard from start to finish, regardless of what the score is. And then Corey Davis. Corey Davis was unbelievable yesterday. 11 catches, 100 and something yards, got a touchdown.
It's aggressive. Yep.
Just a model of consistency.
Yep, I agree with him. Corey Davis has been one of the brightest players, obviously with A.J. Brown, but it's nice to show that that Corey Davis has shown up. I don't know what's going to happen in the offseason. I said on Twitter before, they need to re-sign him. I don't care what they need to do, who they need to lose. That A.J. Brown, Corey Davis combination is looking really, really nice. So I really hope we could do something about it. But on the positive note, yes, we came out in the second half and we didn't lay down. So again, hats off to the Browns. Good job. I mean, that's the only thing. Again, as real can be. It sucks to be a Titans fan, but guess what? There's always next week. We play the Jaguars. We can't just let it slip. We got to play angry. Hopefully they play angry. Hopefully we can clean up a little bit of the mess, and hopefully we get a W again. So it is what it is, man. Again, Ryan, It's been a pleasure to have you on, man. I need to definitely get you back on and talk some more Titan football. We'll have a couple other shows and stuff, and I'll bring you in, man. But again, I want to say thank you so much for coming in and talking some Titan football. Again, guys, if you guys haven't checked out his podcast, please do. Let them know one more time where to find you before we hang out.
You can listen to me, Travis, and Caleb on Amy's Army at the Say It Again Network. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Harris 662 for all Titans content and occasional positive message. Positive message here and there.
There we go. Perfect. And guys, remember, if you guys hasn't liked, subscribed, or share, please do. Remember, you have Mr. Titan Podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If not, you find me on YouTube. Another channel is Cage Talk, where I talk to MMA fighters. Find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well, and on YouTube. Again, thank you guys so much for joining. For next week, we'll do the pregame show with the Jaguars. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan. And tighten up.